Hello everybody, welcome to my 2012 season. I'm going to be making another series like I did last year. It's not going to be as detailed as last year because I think my other series covered it. It's going to be more or less just a type of progress report, and if there's anything that I have forgotten, I will point that out too if I forgot something last year. So I will get started. Now, why do I make these videos? Well, I guess I can just basically chalk it up to that it's fun for me. And I like to teach people things. And if I can teach somebody things, and my old series has shown that I do, that makes me feel good. I mean, that's basically all there is to it. I also find that growing plants of any kind are interesting. It's interesting to see something happening from seed, growing into a full plant that you can actually pick off, harvest, and eat. It's easy. It's an easy hobby to have. It's cheap. Hot peppers have health benefits, I've heard. I've heard they speed up your metabolism, but don't take my word for it. Do your own research on that. Now, my goal for these videos is to show people how they can grow tomatoes and peppers in the cheapest way possible, and in a way that takes up as little space in your house as possible. So that's the goal I'm trying to get across. I'm going to try not to repeat myself from last year. Of course, I probably will end up saying some things, but so as a consequence of that, these videos are going to be shorter, I'm sure. So let's get into the varieties that I'm choosing to grow this year. Okay, this is Anaheim. I grew that 2 years ago and I was very pleased with it. Giant Marconi, I grew those last year, very impressed with those. I'm going to grow one hot pepper this year. Everything else is going to be sweet peppers, and the one plant that I choose to grow is the Jamaican hot chocolate. I try other varieties and I keep going back to that one. That one has become my favorite. And of course, jalapenos. I'm going to grow Ixtapa again just because I still have seeds from that. New one for me this year, the red Marconi. And then just sort of a curiosity, a strange, something unique and different. I'm growing a pepper called Purple Beauty. I have no idea what to expect out of it. I'm simply growing it for the novelty factor. I wanted to point something out really quick. Last year I grew something called Numex Big Jim, and in this catalog it says that those peppers were supposed to get up to 12 inches long, and they didn't get anywhere near that. So I want to point out real quick, this is what my peppers looked like last year, the supposed Numex Big Jim. And when I read the Numex Joe E. Parker description, it matches it perfectly. 6 to 7 inch peppers, and they look just like these. The peppers that were supposed to be the Numex Big Jim, they did not look like this, and they were nowhere near 12 inches. So then I find in this catalog, which I'm not that angry about. Well, I'm not going to take a bunch of time to try to find it now, but basically it said if what you get in a labeled envelope is not what it actually says, that they're not going to take responsibility for that. And I'm convinced they sent me the wrong ones. I'm not going to get too critical about it because I still like these guys, but just something to mention, I guess. Okay. Really quick about storing seeds. I've had a couple questions on my previous series, and basically, if you want to store seeds, I would suggest keeping them in a paper envelope or a paper bag in the refrigerator. I wouldn't put them in the freezer. And if you want to save seeds, I'm sure I'm going to get into that in a later video, so stay tuned for that. This is the hot box again from last year. I have a piece of styrofoam on the bottom because this box is going to be sitting on the floor, and that layer of foam is just going to insulate it and keep it nice and warm. If you can keep it nice and warm, you should get germination within about 5 days. These are the cheapest cups I could find. Again, $2, $2.50, something like that. It's a whole heck of a lot cheaper than buying, actual pots. So this was the first bag of seed starting mix I found, and I bought it. I expect they're probably all pretty similar. And I got a new method of growing that I'm going to try this year, and I will get into that in just a minute. Okay, so this is the point when I show you how to make the holes in your cup. I described it last year, but I figured what the heck, I'll just show you this year. So here we go. Take the blowtorch. This is my trusty dedicated screwdriver, and it went through without a problem. You want to do this outside because, as you might be well aware, it's going to stink up your house if you do it inside. But I just wanted to show you how quick and simple it is to basically make your own little pots. Okay, so my soil has been placed in there. The soil is nice and moist. 6 varieties, 6 cups. Each cup has 5 seeds in it. I've dispersed them sort of in a radial pattern. Maybe you can see it. There, 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 there. Jamaican hot chocolate. I'm using my seeds that I harvested and dried and stored from last year, and I don't want anything to go wrong with that since it took so long to germinate last year. I got 7 in there. So this is my new system. 5 seeds. Like last year, if I wanted to make sure I had 2 plants, I would have had 2 cups with maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 seeds in it apiece. But my new method, once these start growing, I will be able to separate them out of the 1 cup, and this is going to be a space saver and a time saver for how many cups I need to mess around with. So that's my new idea, and we'll see how well it works. Okay, so here they are, 6 varieties and 6 cups. They're in the hot box now. I'll go plug it in here in a minute. I've tented each cup with a little sandwich bag to hold in the moisture. One thing you do not want to happen is to have these stay moist for 3, 4, 5 days and then go dry, because as I found out, that sends your seeds into a dormancy that may take a month or more to break, and you don't want that because you'll just have to start over. So in order to avoid that, I'll just tent these for the first few days, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is to check them every day, preferably twice a day. If you see the surface is starting to get dry, or you pick up these cups and they feel really light, you have to check the moisture every day. Believe me, I found that out the hard way. So other than that, now they go on the floor, they get plugged in, and hopefully within 5 days I will get sprouts. Now, those of you who have seen my videos before have probably noticed that I take little jabs at religion. And I want to be serious about this for a minute if I can. Charles Darwin Day, which isn't an official day unless you're a person who likes science and that kind of thing. But anyway, Darwin Day was February 12th, and I wanted to point out a couple things. I don't mind if people have a religion. That doesn't bother me. But when you have religious people interfering in a science classroom, trying to teach their fairy tales as equal to science, I have a huge problem with that. Okay? And also, I have a problem with the fact that we can't, in the United States, elect a president who doesn't invoke God and Jesus. I'm convinced that a lot of politicians get elected just because they say God, Jesus, and I'm a Christian. And you know they can't all be. So in any case, I'll get that off my chest. And I wanted to say one more thing. Basically, it's one of my favorite arguments. You know, in order to be a Christian, you have to believe in the story of Adam and Eve. I mean, there's no way around it, because Eve was the one who did the original sin when she ate from the tree of knowledge, the apple, supposedly. And, you know, you'll have some Christians out there who will say, well, you know, I don't take that literally. But you see, here's the problem with that. If Eve didn't eat that apple, if that story isn't literally true, you know, Eve was created by a rib, by the way. Yeah, if Eve didn't create that original sin, there was no sin for Jesus to die for. So in other words, if evolution is true, and it is, that Adam and Eve story is false, because we are apes. Human beings are apes, and it's proven. I mean, you can deny it if you're a Christian all you want, but it's proven without a shadow of a doubt. Evolution has been proven. It's not just a theory, it's a fact. And so that's my one good argument for today. If Adam and Eve isn't true, then evolution... If Adam and Eve isn't true, then that means that the whole Christian story isn't true. So as a Christian, you're forced to believe that Eve came from a rib, there was a talking snake, there was literally a tree of knowledge, and it was an apple. In any case, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I definitely side on the side of Darwin, and I believe in science. I don't believe in Christianity. I don't believe in any religion, period. So if you're somebody who's offended by that, you know, by my speaking like this, you probably don't want to watch my videos. But if you have a curiosity, if you know, if you're not fully committed to the Christian religion, please watch away. Ask questions if you want. You can ask me anything you want, and I'd be happy to answer. And that goes for my peppers as well. Thank you.